Okay, so basically, Terraform is the tool that we're going to use, okay? As I said, Terraform is also known as a IAC tool, which is an infrastructure as a code tool, okay? So it was created by HashiCorp. It is open source today, it is free, and this tool in here is actually in the top 3 of the tools that are most used by large corporations today to provision cloud infrastructure, okay? And there are a few concepts I wanted to share with you. The first one is the provider, okay? When you work with Terraform, you're going to see that Terraform actually provides you or gives you a provider, which is a kind of a plugin, you know, that Terraform will use to communicate with the cloud providers. So you have a provider for AWS, for all cloud providers, right? Azure. You have a provider for Google Cloud, GCP, for OCI, Oracle Cloud. So all of them, you're going to find a provider so that you can use that provider to provision infrastructure in that given cloud provider, all right? So that's something that you also need to understand. And then also, I want you to understand a few common commands that we're going to use today. So we're going to use basically 3 commands that I want you to learn so that you are familiar. The first one is going to be the Terraform init. The second one is going to be the Terraform init, which one that we're going to choose. So Terraform, okay, so basically we're going to use the Terraform Apply, which is the last one, okay? Terraform Apply is the last one. Between the init and apply, we are going to use another command to basically do a verification and see and show you what is going to happen even before Terraform goes there and run the Terraform Apply for us, which is the Terraform Plan, okay? So Terraform Plan is the second one that I want you to learn. So all of them are actually sub-commands or sub-options of the Terraform executable that we are going to run, okay? So basically the init, what the init does is, if it is the first time that you're running Terraform, what Terraform needs to do is, it needs to go there on their public repositories and download the provider. Remember, it's just like a plugin, so that Terraform can connect with your cloud provider account and start creating the resources. And the second thing that you're going to run is the Terraform Plan, all right? The Terraform Plan, as I already mentioned, is going to go there and it's going to, you know, just check if the things that the things that the Terraform will do, right? It's going to show you all the things that the Terraform code will do even before creating the infrastructure, okay? And the second one, and the last one, actually the third one, is the Terraform Apply. And the Terraform Apply is actually to go there and look at your code, and it will actually go and create the infrastructure in the cloud provider that you want Terraform to create, right? And then all of that is going to actually read, all those steps are going to read the Terraform files, and the one that we're going to use is the main.tf, okay? The main.tf, and all those Terraform files actually are ending with tf, right? The Terraform files which has the configuration will end with tf. So all these Terraform files inside of this main.tf, what's going to happen is we're going to have all the lines of, you know, Terraform code in here so that you can go there and provision the infrastructure, okay? Now, please pay attention to this. Terraform is not programming, okay? Please repeat that with me. Terraform is not programming, because I see a lot of people stuck saying, hey, John, but I don't know how to program. I don't know how to code, right? You don't need to know how to code, and you don't need to code to basically use and provision infrastructure with Terraform. It's completely different. Terraform uses a declarative way or a declarative format so that you can go there and inside of those Terraform files, you actually go there and write a few lines of blocks, right? Which is not, you know, code or programming. You're just giving the lines of resources. For example, I want Terraform to create a new autonomous database. You're going to have a block for that. I want Terraform to create the object storage. You're going to have another block for that. You're going to look at that right now. In a few minutes, I'm going to open the code so that you can see. But I'm just sharing that with you because I see that a lot of people, get stuck because they think that Terraform is programming. It's not programming, all right? And cloud computing is not programming, all right? So just to make sure that you understand correctly, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the main.df. But before that, the last concept that I wanted to share with you is the Terraform Stage. Terraform Stage. Okay? So basically the Terraform Stage is a feature of Terraform that allows Terraform to store the state of the cloud infrastructure in a local file so that, at the next execution, let's say in our example, we are going to create one autonomous database and one object storage. If we wanted to create, let's say in the future, one virtual machine in Oracle Cloud infrastructure as well, we can basically go there and change the same file, the main.df, and at the end of the file, add the new resource. But what Terraform will do, it will not try to create all the new resources again. It's not going to try to create the Oracle Autonomous Database again, the storage, the object storage again. It's going to actually read the state file, okay, that has the state of the infrastructure in the cloud. It's going to read that state, and then based on that, it's going to see that there is already a autonomous database and object storage created. The only thing I need to do is to create a virtual machine. So based on that, it's going to take the decision and create only whatever is not yet in the cloud provider for you. So that's a very, very important feature of Terraform, and that's one of the reasons that Terraform is so popular, because you can maintain the state of your infrastructure using code, all right? So that's something that you need to keep in mind as well. And I'm just recalling now, there is one project that we do on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Bootcamp, which is part of the MultiCloud Bootcamp, that we basically go there and also use the Terraform code, the Terraform Cloud actually, to store the state, of the provisioning, right? Because you're going to see that we're going to do that on Cloud Shell, but Cloud Shell is just a temporary location for you to run the Terraform code, right? In a real world production environment, you should have a way to store your state somewhere. And that's exactly what we do in this project on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Bootcamp, that we use the Terraform Cloud. It is a much more advanced implementation. I'm just giving you an idea so that you can understand what can be done as well. All right. So basically, those are the basic concepts that I wanted to share with you. All right. So now coming back to my slide, what we're going to do is we are going to basically start the provisioning now. Okay. But before doing that, I wanted to ask the production team to release the first part of the code. Can you please release the first part of the code, team, so that people can take the screenshot and do, yeah, there you go. So if you want to be eligible for the certificate, please go there and take a screenshot and write down so that you can unlock the PDF at the end of the mission, okay? All right, so cool. Coming back to my slide now. So let me explain what we're going to do now, okay? So basically, as I mentioned to you in the project plan, we're going to move forward with the provisioning step. Let's assume that the Terraform is already written, right? Is already, was already created by Daniel and Raj. Even though I'm going to show you how it was created. Let's assume that it was already created. Now it is time to provision the infrastructure resources in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And for doing that, Raj is going to go there and do it. And because we need to have the Terraform executable installed somewhere, we are going to use the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Cloud Shell, which is a web-based terminal that comes already with Terraform pre-installed. And Terraform will be already available for us in there, but one thing that you could also do is to install Terraform on your own laptop and run Terraform from there, right? But to make your life easier, and usually you need to make your life easier when you're working in a cloud project, so that you can, do the things in a, faster way and in a proper way, in a more smart way. You should use whatever resources are available for you in the cloud providers, and it's gonna give you a much better experience. All right. And one tool that we're going to use on Oracle Cloud infrastructure is Cloud Shell. You're going to look at that. We're going to open Cloud Shell, and then, as I told you, Cloud Shell, it is a web-based terminal which comes already with Terraform pre-installed. Okay. And also we go there. We are going to basically use Terraform, and along with the code that I'm going to show you right now. And the code will actually be placed inside of Cloud Shell. And what's going to happen is, once we run Terraform, it's going to reach it's actually going to look for Terraform files, right? .df files. And if it finds it, it's going to read the file and see whatever needs to be done. And then once it finds out, it's going to go there and provision the infrastructure for us in the cloud provider, which is, in our case, it's going to provision the object storage in our cloud infrastructure and the autonomous database in the OCI, right? In the Oracle Cloud infrastructure as well. So 2 resources will be created. And please notice that during the provisioning and all the project steps, the management will be always foreseeing whatever is, happening, right? Here, Mahesh, which is the manager of Raj, he is, basically following up with him and looking if everything is executing in a proper way. So because of that, you see that's very important for every management to be aware of what's happening in a cloud project and what technologies are actually being used, right? Think about that. If you are a IT manager and you don't have any technical knowledge, how are you going to lead your team properly, right? How are you going to see if Terraform is the best tool that they're using right now, right? So I see that many management people or leadership directors, managers, they think that they don't need to be technical, right? But that's a huge mistake, because one of the most promising roles going forward is the technical leadership, right? It's somebody that doesn't need to put their hands dirty to create the infrastructure, to do all these things that needs to be done, in a hands-on way, but they know very well everything that's happening. They know very well every single technology, right? And then I always like to mention one example from American Airlines. I always like to mention one example from American Airlines, right? Which is basically one of the senior managers in there. He was a really, really technical guy, right? But he didn't need to be hands-on. But because he was very, very technical, he had actually a very good grasp of all technologies, and he could understand and lead his team effectively, right? And then I still remember one of the escalations that we had during the project, one bug that happened inside of one of the resources at that time. And that guy, joined the call, right? That manager, that management joined the call, and then he was so technical, he was able to drive the call end to end on their side. I was in the Oracle side and they were in the customer side, but I could notice that he was really, really technical guy. And then I was feeling confident and very happy to work with him, because I saw that he was really technical. And then that's something that you also need to keep in mind if you need to have rapport of your team, right? Your team will not respect you, very, very well if you are not technical. They don't like to work with non-technical people. I'm telling you based on my own experience, right? When I was working for Oracle, my previous director, he was a very technical guy, but I had non-technical managers as well, and it was horrible. So a technical manager or technical leader is somebody that can create a very good rapport with his directs, right? Because whoever is working under them wants to work with technical people, right? Wants to work with somebody that understands what's happening in the project, all right? So just keep that in mind. Coming back to my slide, please. Okay, cool. So moving forward then, we're going to go there now and execute those steps. And I'm going to share with you the Terraform code at this time, okay, so that we can see, you can understand what's going to happen. So come back again to me, please, camera one, so that I can share my screen with the code. All right. So please let me know if you're ready to put your hands dirty on Terraform. If you're ready, please give us a thumbs up, hit the like button, and also subscribe to the channel so that we can see that you're enjoying this training. All right. And I'm gonna open right now the Terraform code so that you can see, right, how it is going to look. All right. So let me open in here. 1 second. So let me just open that. Okay. All right, cool. You can switch back to my laptop, please. All right, excellent. So as you can see here, I have the main.tf file, which is a Terraform file. And please don't worry now, you're going to receive the link to download this file inside of the PDF that you're going to get at the end of the mission, all right? So you're going to get a link to download this file so that you can do it yourself as well. And here in the Terraform file, like I told you, right, it is a TF file. So this is the main.tf file. And you have a few things in here, right? Of course, you can have variables, and the variables can hold values that you can pass those values inside of your code, right? And here you have the provider, right? Remember I shared with you the meaning of the provider, which is just a plugin that you need to pass a few configuration inside of the provider so that it can go there in the cloud infrastructure and communicate with the cloud infrastructure cloud provider and start creating your infrastructure. And here we are using the OCI provider, all right? So the OCI provider is going to ask you a few configuration parameters. The first one is the region, right? Where we want to create our resources, in which region, and then we can give the region in here. It's going to actually run the region from the parameter, which is coming from the variable, right? But when we run the code, you're going to see that the Terraform is going to ask us to provide all those values in here. The tenancy OCIG, which is basically the ID of your OracleCloud infrastructure account, right? The tenancy is just your account on OracleCloud infrastructure, and the OCIG means or stands for Oracle Cloud identification. It's just the ID of your account. And also it's going to ask you for the compartment ID, which is basically a logical entity or logical, I would say, logical folder that you can create on OracleCloud infrastructure to organize your resources. You can have multiple folders, which are also known as compartment, and then inside of those compartments you can put your resources. For example, you can have resources, database resources in one compartment, compute resources in another compartment, and then we're going to give the compartment ID that we want to create our resources, okay? And then the other one is the region, as I mentioned, and we're going to mention which region we want to create. And then again, coming back to the provider, here on the parameters, it is going to ask us, okay, in which region you want to use, what is your tenancy OCIG, and then you see that all of them, both of them are actually coming from the variables, right? It's going to reach from the variable. So see how simple it is to put a few lines of, Terraform code. It's very, very easy to understand because it is a declarative way of creating infrastructure, right? You don't need to know code for that. And moving forward in here, I put a few comments in English and in Portuguese as well, because there are a few people, running the same training in Portuguese. So I put those comments in here to, help everybody that, is native in English and native in Portuguese as well. So basically this block is going to go there. So if you notice in here, there is a block, which is the resource block. And the resource block is basically something that you can get from Terraform documentation to provision a new resource on Oracle Cloud infrastructure or any cloud provider, right? I'm going to show you how you can do it as well so that you can understand, okay? But here on this resource, for example, we are going to, create a new Oracle Autonomous Database, right? Remember, you could do that using the console, and you could do that using the Terraform, right? As I explained to you. So this block in here from line 25 up to line 44 is the block that we are going to use, actually Terraform is going to use to provision the autonomous database for us using code, right? And then Giving a quick pause in here, I'm gonna just hop to the console and show you how you could create that using the console so that you can correlate that to the code, right? So here's the OracleCloud Infrastructure console. If you come in here in the menu and if you go to Oracle Database, you're going to see that there is a Oracle Autonomous Transaction Processing option in here. You can just click in there, and then once you reach this screen, there you go. You are on the Oracle Autonomous Database creation screen. You can just click on the Create Autonomous Database. And then here, if you wanted to create that using the console, for example, you would give all the parameters that we are going to give on Terraform, like the name, the database name, the compartment, the type of workload, how many CPU, and all of that, the password, all of that you can give from the console. And if you look at the code again, right? So if you look at the code again, all the parameters that need to be actually passed in the code are the same, exactly the same that we need to pass on the console, right? For example, the admin password, we're going to set that password in here. But if you wanted to do that in the console, you could come in here and put the password right here, right? Everything is going to be the same, right? So that's very important you understand the both sides, the two sides that you can the two ways actually that you can use to create your autonomous database. And this block is basically coming from the Terraform documentation, all right, that I'm going to show you right now. So if you want to learn more about Terraform, you just go to Terraform docs, right? And then here on Google, it's going to be probably the first link. So if you put Terraform Oracle Cloud docs, you're going to go to the Oracle Cloud provider documentation, right? So which is this one in here. So let's just click in there. And there you go. Here is the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Provider documentation on Oracle or on Terraform portal, right? And then here, if you look for the autonomous database, for example, if you go under database, so let's just search in here on the filter, let's say autonomous, right? Autonomous, yeah, there you go. And then here under database, you see all the resources that you can create under a autonomous database, right? Or under your account on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And the Terraform documentation is so powerful that even gives you examples that you can literally copy the example and basically make the changes according to your needs, right? So you see that this example in here is pretty comprehensive. It's giving a lot of options, right? Our example is a simpler version of it, right? See, it's the same resource, OCI database, autonomous database, and then the name of the resource. Same thing in here, right? And then you can basically use the documentation to create your Terraform code, right? You don't need to memorize or keep that in mind, right? Or note that every single resource on the top of your mind, because it is impossible. And it also changes every single day, right? Because the cloud providers are changing and adding more resources, adding more features. So what I recommend you to do is, every single time that you are creating your infrastructure as a code, code like the Terraform, for example, you should rely 100% on the documentation to give you the resources and the references that you need to create the code, right? That's something that you need to keep in mind, because that's something that will completely change your game, right? You don't need to have everything on your brain. It's impossible, right? No one would do it, but you just need to know very well where to get the information. And the best place is, of course, the documentation, as I'm showing you, right? So coming back to the console, to the laptop now, and here you see that we are actually giving a few parameters that is going to be used to create our autonomous database, like the password, with compartment, how many CPU, the database name. And please notice that all of that is going to be done by a Oracle DBA and an infrastructure engineer working together in a given project, right? Remember, in the project that we are working, right now, that's something that is being done by Raj and Daniel, right? And imagine if Raj and Daniel didn't have this knowledge, they wouldn't even be hired, right? Because that's something that they would need to do in the project. That was exactly because the people under Venkat did not was not part of this kind of tasks, right? Because they didn't have any Terraform knowledge, they didn't have any clue, right? Terraform, is it for eating or drinking? zero clue. And you are here, and then you are way more, way ahead of these guys. So that's a good thing. Now you know what's Terraform, and then you're able to create your code as well. That's exactly what you're going to do at the end of the mission. All right. So coming back now, just to wrap up in here on the database. So all the parameters you can give, like for the tags, you can give the tags so that you can organize your resources. For example, you can give tags like department so that you can know that, for example, that database is from the aircrew department, or it is from the financing department, or from the sales department, right? You can organize your resources very well. We cover, a lot of that in the MultiCloud Bootcamp as well, so that you can, see how you can, even organize the billing of your resources based on tags. So that's something that you keep in mind as well. And that's it, right? So here is the resource for creating the autonomous database. Basically a few lines, 25 up to 44. And that's how we're going to do it in a minute there in the console. Now, moving forward, if you remember in the architecture, we also need to create a object storage bucket, remember, right? And the role of the object storage bucket in this project is the following, right? Basically, you're going to see that during the migration, we will need to do the export of the database running in the on-premise environment and take the dump of the database, and that dump has the data of the database running in our on-premises environment, and we're going to take this dump and upload that dump to the object storage bucket sitting in an OracleCloud infrastructure, right? Once the dump is sitting there on the object storage bucket, what we're going to do is we're going to use a import tool, the data pump tool, to import the data inside of the autonomous database, but it needs to be inside of the object storage first so that you can create the connection between the autonomous database and the object storage. That's exactly what we did in American Airlines, by the way. That's exactly, we migrated a few databases following this approach that I'm showing you right now. Of course, there are a few other databases that are more critical that probably you would need to use more advanced techniques like Golden Gate to allow you real-time replications that you can migrate with zero downtime, but that's something else. That was for a, big database that we had to migrate. But, the same concept would apply, right? If you are a DBA that Golden Gate, and if you are adding the cloud knowledge now on your skill set, you are going to be able to do it very easily because you're going to, have the two sides of the knowledge, right? The on-premises along with the cloud. That's something that makes you, really, really powerful, really, really strong, right? So keep that in mind, okay? So basically the object storage will be used for that. And then here is the resource that we're going to use to create the object storage in there, right? Very simple, just a few lines of code. We're going to use the resource type, which is the OCI object storage bucket. And then we're going to create the bucket, and the name of the bucket will be DB Aircrew1, right? So that's going to be the name of our bucket, and the namespace is something that we're going to get from our account on OCI so that you can update on your code with your namespace value, okay? So that's exactly what we're going to do right now, okay? Cool, so excellent. Now, let's move forward, and what we're going to do is I'm going to share with you actually a few notes, all right? So don't worry now, these notes actually will be inside of your PDF, okay? I just want you to follow step by step what I'm going to do, but right now, just pay attention. I don't want you to do it now, okay? Just pay attention. Just try to understand what I'm doing. I don't want you to do now because you're going to have the opportunity of doing yourself at the end of the mission, okay? So now just follow along with me and let's go for it, okay? So cool. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to basically go there on your Oracle Cloud infrastructure account, okay? So basically, I'm going to go back in here on my Oracle Cloud infrastructure account. Let me just refresh my browser. Since that it got hung, let me just close this and open again. Oh, okay, there you go. It came up. Okay. So please go there, log into your Oracle Cloud infrastructure account, right? Not right now, but once you're doing it, of course. And then here on the top, you're going to see the Cloud Shell just go and click on the Cloud Shell. And the Cloud Shell, as I mentioned, is a web-based terminal. Okay, it allows you to run commands in a fully web-based way. Okay, so here is our Cloud Shell. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to download the Terraform code, right? I'm going to add the wget in here. We're going to download the Terraform code, okay? The Terraform code inside of Cloud Shell, okay? So all of that you are going to have inside of your PDF, okay? Just go there and copy that command. Just run the wget, and the wget is basically a command that allows you to download files using command line, okay? So wget and then give the zip file. Let me just clear the screen. And then as you can see, I just downloaded this file, tcn mission 2. I'm just going to unzip that file now. Unzip that file. And it's actually saying that I already have a, yeah, you can just replace that, that's fine. And then once it gets unzipped, let me clear the screen, that it can be better. A folder mission 2 is going to be created. See that? So inside of this folder, if you go inside of this folder mission 2, you're going to see there is a Terraform folder. Inside of this Terraform folder, OCI folder, and then finally you're going to have the main.tf file, right? Let me clear the screen. This is the main.tf file, which is the same file that we actually saw in minutes ago, a few minutes ago, which I showed you the Terraform resources, right? That we're going to execute to spin up our infrastructure. All right. So now what we need to do is once we run the Terraform code, it's going to ask us for a few parameters, right? Remember that we are using a few variables in here. So because of that, we need to get a few data from our account, write it down so that we can use it later. So basically, the first thing that you need to do is go there on your account, and you're going to get the values for the compartment ID that we're going to use, your tenancy ID, and also I want you to check what is your home region. All right, I'm going to show you right now. So coming back to the console, let's minimize the Cloud Shell for now. The first thing that we need to get, if you look at our notes, is the compartment ID. The way that you can get the compartment ID is you just come in here on the navigation menu, and then you just come in identity and security, and then here under identity, you're going to see the compartment, all right? And probably in your case, you're just going to have the root compartment, which is the compartment that comes already created with your account when you create a new account on our cloud infrastructure. So the third column, you see that it is the OCID. So basically the third column has the ID of this compartment. You just need to come in here and click in copy to copy your ID of your compartment. Just copy that, come back on your notes and put it in there, because you're going to use that when you're running the Terraform tool. And the second thing that you need to get is the tenancy OCID. All right. For getting the tenancy OCID, you can come in here on your profile and you can click here in tenancy. And the tenancy, as I explained to you, is just the account that is created for you on our cloud infrastructure. And once you're here on your tenancy, you're going to see the OCID of your tenancy, which is under OCID field. You just need to show so that you can see, right, how the OCID looks like. And then once you do that, just click in copy. And then you're going to get your OCID for your tenancy copy, all right? And then now I want you to check what is your home region. When you create your account on our cloud infrastructure, you need to define a home region. It's basically the primary region that you're going to use to provision your resources, all right? And in this case, you can basically go there and pick the home region that is showing up in here in this field for you. Can you please put myself small on the side of the screen for me production? Yeah, there you go. And then people can see me as well. So then here, I just want you to see what is your home region, all right? And then just write it down, okay? Because you're going to give that when you're creating your infrastructure in Terraform as well, okay? So in my case in here, my home region is Ashburn, US East, okay? So just come in here and say US Ashburn so that you can get that information. All right, and then you're going to click on the Cloud Shell that That's something that we actually already did. And then the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to go there and basically copy this command. I want you to copy this command because we need to get the object storage namespace and the region name, the IG of the regions that we can use in the Terraform code. So basically the OCI is a command line interface, right? It's the CLI of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure that you can use to run commands on your OCI account. So this one that we're going to run, OCI OS for object storage, NES for namespace and GET, we're going to get the namespace IG for my object storage namespace in here on my tenancy, right? So what you need to do is just come in here and copy that the result of data, because you're going to need that as well. And then just come in here and write down, put in here on your notepad. And then finally, I want you to just run the region list, OCI IAM region list, that you can see what is the code of your region so that you can use as well during the Terraform code execution. So let me just clear the screen and then passing OCI IAM region list. And then once you run that, basically this command is going to output you the list of regions of OCI around the globe, right? And then as you can see, it's going to show you all the regions, but I want you to go on this list, to move on this list and see what is the name of your region, what is the code like in this formatting here of your region. In my case, my region, as I showed you, is Ashburn. So this is the code of my region, all right? US Ashburn 1. Just copy that and put on your notepad as well, because you're going to need that to, inform during the Terraform code creation, all right? So once you do that, you have the prerequisites in place, which is good, right? Now, the next step that you need to do is you need to go there on your Terraform code, right? So this one in here, which is already there on your Cloud Shell. But I'm going to show you in here in my editor, I'm going to show you how you can add that in a Cloud Shell as well. But here on line 53, I want you to go there on your notes and copy your namespace, right? The ID of your namespace. And I want you to come in here on namespace field and just replace that with your namespace ID, right? Because you're going to need that for, creating your object storage. Everything else you can capture as the same, right? The database name, the password, everything, just keep the same, because on the upcoming steps, I'm going to assume that, the database name is going to be this one in here. The password is going to be this one. You can change that, but you are going to need to change it in the application files as well so that it can communicate with the database. I don't recommend that, especially if you're, still getting started. Just leave everything else as it is, but, change the line 53 on the namespace, okay? And then if you're there on the Cloud Shell, you can do it from the Cloud Shell as well, which is easier. You just need to run VI and then the name of the file, and then you can go there, scroll down to line 53, just come in here and replace it with the ID of your namespace, all right? That's very simple, okay? So close the file and that's it, okay? Once you do that, you're ready to the next steps. So the next step, the one that we just did, was the step 6, right? And the next step is actually run the Terraform init, right? And that's exactly what we're going to do now. So let's, come in here on our Cloud Shell. Let me clear the screen. Now, I want you to make sure that you are in the right folder. So just run a pwd, and run a ls, and make sure that you see the file main.tf, right? Otherwise, these steps will not work, okay? Once you do that, just clear your screen and then run the Terraform init first, all right? So once you run the Terraform init, what's going to happen is Terraform is going to go there and download the Terraform OCI provider, remember, and then it's going to install it inside of your Cloud Shell, right? So it just did that. We are good. Now we can move to the next step. The next step is to run the Terraform Plan, as I explained to you what it does. Just run that, and then as you can see, it's going to ask you a few parameters, right? The first one is going to be the compartment ID. So come back on your notes and move forward in here to the step 3 and just copy the compartment ID that you just copied in the step 3, all right? That you just wrote down in step 3. Copy that and give it in here. Same thing for the region. It's gonna ask you for the region ID. And then given that you have the region ID in here actually on step 5, you need to give that region name in that format, all right? US-Ashburn-1. If your region if your home region is a different one, you need to make sure to give that in that format, right? You shouldn't give it in the name, like in the name of the region, because it's not gonna work. It's gonna look for this code in here, okay? So just give the region name. And then finally, it's gonna ask you for the tenancy or CID. You can just copy your tenancy or CID from your notepad as well and give it in here. All right, so once you do that, it's gonna run the Terraform. Let me maximize in here too, so that you can see it better. It's gonna run the Terraform plan, and then at this time, Terraform still didn't do anything, right? It is just checking to see if you already have this resource already created on your Terraform Stage file, right? This file in here that we already discussed here on the whiteboard. And then once it sees that there is nothing inside of the stage file, it's gonna go there and it's gonna tell you what are the changes that are going to be made inside of your OCI or oraclecloud infrastructure, right? So basically here, you see that whenever you see this plus green sign, it means that the Terraform will create a new resource. So it's saying, you know, here for us on this output, that's gonna, you know, create a new resource of the database, which is the database, the autonomous database, right? It's gonna create the new database, and then if you scroll down here, it's gonna create a new bucket, object storage bucket for us, right? And then it actually gives you a summary saying that it's planning to, you know, add 2 new resources, planning to change 0 resources, and planning to destroy 0 resources. Basically gives you peace of mind to understand what the tool will do prior to executing the apply, which actually goes there and, you know, create changes on your cloud infrastructure, okay? All right, so cool. And the next step now that you're going to run is the apply. But let me just come back in here on the console and make sure that I don't have any autonomous database with the name that I'm going to create, right? In my case in here, I think I have, yeah, I just have the DB crew without the 1. So the one that we're going to create has the 1 at the end, DB crew 1. In my case, I just have 1 created, the test 1 that I was testing, right? And then you're going to see that the DB crew 1 is going to be created, right? This one in here is actually terminated. It was the one that was created while I was testing the script, just to make sure that it's working fine. And then this is not there anymore. You see that the stage is terminated. It doesn't exist anymore. And let's have a look on the object storage bucket as well. So for you to look at the object storage bucket, just go on the menu, storage, and then click on the buckets. And then here in the bucket, you see that we don't have any bucket DB crew 1. Nothing is in there, all right? So we just have the bucket DB gestão UTI, but this is not applicable. And then probably you are not going to have any bucket because your account is fresh, okay? So, all right, cool. We are good now. Let's come back to the Cloud Shell, restore and maximize. Now let's just clear the screen and let's run the Terraform Apply command, okay? So once you run the Terraform Apply command, you just need to give the parameters again, and then maybe you are wondering, hey John, do I need to give it every single time? Actually no, right? I'm showing you this way so that you can understand how the tool works, but in a production environment, you can create one variables file and then put all the files, all the variables, right, with the values inside of this variable file, or you can set the variables using environment variables as well so that it can be ready for you to run anytime that you need to spin up a new infrastructure, right? But just showing you the options because it's important for you to understand how the tool works, okay? So now just giving the region the same thing that I was doing for the plan command, right? Nothing new. So that's why I'm going a little bit faster. So then it's gonna run. So if everything goes well, it's gonna ask you if you want to really perform these actions, right? It's gonna ask you, hey, if you type yes, we're going to go there and create the infrastructure or make the changes that are showing up in the top in here on your infrastructure? Are you ready? And if you say yes, hit enter. If everything goes well, it's going to go there on Oracle Cloud infrastructure on your account. And given that the Terraform is already pre-authenticated here on your Cloud Shell, you saw that we didn't give any authentication information, right? We didn't give any password, any keys, anything like that, because Terraform is already, pre-configured inside of your Cloud Shell. That's one of the benefits of using the Terraform. When you need to provision infrastructure in our cloud infrastructure, you can use the Terraform inside of Cloud Shell because you don't need to deal with authentication issues, creating keys and all of that, right? It is much more convenient. And given that, it is already going there and start creating the resources in my account. So let's minimize in here and see how it's gonna, if it already started creating the autonomous database. So let's come back on the autonomous database screen. Let's see if it is already showing up. Yeah, there you go. And then as you can see, the DB crew, let me restore this one. The DB crew database, DB crew 1 was provisioning, and it is already available. It has already finished, guys. Oh my gosh, how amazing can that be? Less than 2 minutes, actually, right? Less than 2 minutes, we have a Oracle Autonomous Database fully provisioned for us in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Can you believe, right? What did you think about that, right? It's pretty amazing. If you're liking it, please give me your thumbs up so that I can see that you're enjoying the content so far, all right? And also, as you can see, it also created the bucket, right? The cloud storage bucket or the object storage bucket, and actually took 0 seconds, right? It actually took less than 1 second to create. So now we have the DB crew 1 that was created, our database, and we also probably have the bucket in the object storage. So let's see if the bucket was really created. So let's go to storage and then come in here in buckets. And let's see if the bucket was created. And there you go. Here we go. Bucket DB crew 1. It was just created. If you remember, the bucket was not there yet, right? So it was just created, and yeah, that's amazing. Bucket is available for us, all right?